Which of course brings about a bit of stress. Tim Finn, one of the sounds of Bay FM, live and local on the Bay. Yes, stress, terrible thing.
Yeah, so we, like Helen, we treat a lot of stress at New Leaf. It's sort of, we actually did a look through 100 of our old files like a year ago, and I sort of wanted to see what the number one thing people filled out when they came in, because naturopathically we always ask what the top 3 things people want to work on in the next, month, 6 months, whatever. And the 2 things we saw consistently were pain and stress. So, in fact, pain was slightly higher than stress. So it's almost like pain gets people through the door just as, people must get used to stress.
When people come through your door, pain, what's the most common? Back?
So a lot of where we don't get the people with headaches and migraines that often, because they are often on analgesics and things that, as long as they take them every day, they can sort of get by.
That's a bad thought.
Yeah, that's right, because they're not realising the long-term side effect of those things. So it's the things that stop them working. So the things that stop people working, you're absolutely right, 70% are probably lower back pain or neck and shoulders, so that they can't actually do their work, they can't actually drive, they can't actually sleep.
There are so many people I know, young and old, my son's one of them, back problems, pain.
Yeah. It's, funnily enough, one of my clients came, do you remember me telling you about that study they did a few years ago where they looked at people with more than 20 years of back pain, and they took a biopsy of the fluid in their spine, either side of the discs in the area where the pain was the worst, and then they basically found that in more than 50% of the cases, acne bacteria was in that. Do you remember that? Yeah, it was in that. And basically what they were doing was then a 100-day process with antibiotics, with the idea that if they pump them full of antibiotics for, a good 3.5 months, they'd kill off the bacteria. Now, it was sort of reasonably successful for some of the people. So you can imagine, but that's the funny thing when they do these tests, they don't know then the long-term ramifications of doing 3.5 months of antibiotics. So, but it's sort of funny, you have to really look through someone's history and find out what the cause is, because it often isn't what you're thinking.
And you could be on a wild goose chase.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be like a whiplash trauma up the spine that you haven't even thought about. Like if you are playing football and you get knocked over and land on your butt.
The poor old truckies out there working flat out, and they have to have special seats to take that vibration off their spine. It's
thank goodness, because really, unless you get to stretch your spine and work it and get that blood supply happening, you can imagine what position these poor truckies are in all day, every day. They're basically stopping their lymph halfway along their body. So by sitting, and this happens to us sitting down all day, every day. So for those people who are office workers, part of the problem is that we then have all of our weight on our spine. We're sitting.
Isn't it good now that they're, I see it advertised on TV, desks that you either sit at or you can elevate it and you can stand at.
I was at one workplace a couple of months ago and half the desks were standing desks. It was amazing.
Yeah, and they believe students in the classroom will learn more standing than what they would if they were sitting. That was my problem at school.
Well, sitting can shut down the brain. So basically for some people, as soon as you're sitting on your butt, so your spine can actually compress. You know how we're shorter at the end of the day? Maybe you don't notice. Yeah. But some people, and I think I've said this before, hop in the car at the end of the day and see whether you need to adjust your rear view mirror. If you need to adjust it, you're probably shorter than you were at the beginning of the day.
And yet standing all day is bad for you too, especially hairdressers, barbers.
Well, once again, it's in one position, so it's in one position and then in an awkward position, So we're not meant to do that either. As human beings, we're meant to move.
One each way, stand, sit.
Yeah, so therefore with pain, for example, we would do structural alignment processes, like N.O.T, Neural Organisational Technique. I've actually got a couple of videos of me doing N.O.T on our YouTube channel.
N.O.T is?
Neural Organisational Technique. It was developed by a chiropractor, Dr. Carl Ferrari, 30 years ago or something. I learnt it from him 20 years ago. So it's a process that helps to realign the spine. So if you think about it from the tailbone all the way up to the tip of your skull, if you've had injuries anywhere along there, so someone's pulled a chair out from behind you and you've landed on your butt. Yeah. That happened to Mum. Mum had 20 years of back pain before she started seeing a chiropractor who did wonders for her, and it was when they were still, evil and crazy like we are. So it's sort of one of those things that bit by bit, and then we've done a lot of N.O.T on her over the last 10 years, so she's pretty much doesn't get it anymore. But people don't think that things that they've had for 30 years can be fixed. Mum had that for 30 years. So, you know, but she was 14 when someone pulled a chair away from her.
It was a tough life then too.
It really is. So it's about realigning the body so that the body is structurally more correct. So basically every time we move, you know how Helen was talking about fight and flight, feeling safe.
Yes.
When we're not feeling safe, our body physically is in
Flight mode.
it is, and all that adrenaline, cortisol's running through your body. No wonder people feel like they have to clean, because what are they going to do with that adrenaline or cortisol if they're not moving? Or they become, say, exercise addicts. But you know, and that can be good to a certain extent, but they
Can be very dangerous.
they want to kill themselves if they don't exercise for 3 days straight if it's raining, you know. So people have to be able to calm down and take a moment as well. You know, there's got to be a really nice balance, but quite often the full-on exercise addicts, and I'm talking addicts, you know, they are getting such a rush from that dopamine, you know,
Constantly
sort of
rushing through their body.
That's right, that they just don't know how to chillax.
One more question. You were mentioning a couple of weeks ago the federal government, you're trying to get a petition together in regards to your products and treatments not being available anymore with MBF or Medicare.
Yeah, so as of 1st of January next year. Well, it's one of those things that we're just getting tiny little improvements. But so yeah, it's your health, your choice. And I think anyone who cares about their health fund rebates, it's probably not a bad idea to think about hopping onto the website. Yeah, there's a Facebook site, Your Health, Your Choice. There's a website, Your Health, Your Choice. And all you have to do is go on there, click it, you know.
Yep, I've signed it.
Yeah.
Hey, lovely chatting today, and fascinating lady, Helen Harrison.
Yeah.
But if you want more details, you can contact Madonna there at New Leaf Natural Therapies, 94 Edith Street, Wynnum. You can park right out front.
You can. So we'd love to see you in at New Leaf, and make sure you mention you're from Bay FM. So there's always a good Bay FM special.
And your phone number is?
3348 6098.
Thanks, Madonna. See
Excellent.
you next Friday.
See you then.
Bye.